Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Authentic Soap podcast. You can see here I'm currently recording in my living room at the moment. It's about the only place I could find with a reasonable sort of light level. I was trying in the kitchen and stuff, and it just didn't seem to be working that well. It was a very sort of dim picture, so I don't know how this is gonna look when it comes on the various technology platforms, but hopefully the light will hold up. It looks okay as I'm looking at the picture now, so hopefully it stays that way. So if you've seen my podcast, if you listened to my podcast yesterday or looked at the video, I did mention then that I was going to start doing some video casts as well as the audio podcast. So you'll be able to access podcasts through through my normal LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, but you'll also be able to now see some videos associated with those. And as I did mention, I now have some guests in the pipeline. So hopefully over the next week I'll have some interviews, and I'll just be recording them through remote technology. So again, it's all dependent on how technology works. Given the age of some of my equipment, I'm not that hopeful, but I try and be positive. So hopefully it will work okay. And as I say, I can get these interviews up there, and the interviews are going to focus on a lot of different topics. So I've been doing a lot of these podcasts. I give it away, podcasts and meditation and sort of spiritually self-help type stuff. In recent weeks, obviously with the lockdown, I've been focusing a little bit on some of the issues around self-isolation and the difficulties associated with that. The fact that as human beings, we are always seeking something to distract us. We can't just simply be as a human being. So obviously this period of lockdown restriction has caused people to feel that sense of not having their distractions more acutely, and that starts manifesting in negative emotions. So as I said, I've been focusing a little bit on that, but the actual podcasts themselves will probably touch on some aspects of that. But I want to move and widen out to discuss various different topics, etc. So just coming back, as I said, I'm going to record some of the earlier podcasts now through videocast. I'll probably only just do a couple of these. So the very first episode I done was called "Why Choose Meditation," and it's a very interesting. It's a very interesting question. Why would you choose to do meditation? So, and I was approaching it from the aspect of somebody like myself, who's 35, and I grew up in the Catholic religion. Yeah, and I still occasionally go to mass. I'm not massively religious or anything, but I think people maybe associate meditation as very spiritual, as very hippie-ish, maybe. And the reality is, all sections of society get involved in meditation. Now, back last year, I started going to the Kadampa Meditation Centre here in Glasgow, Scotland. And it is a meditation centre. It's in the new Kadampa tradition, so Buddhist tradition. Now, some of the people that go there are obviously Buddhists, some of them, but the majority I feel are just people who go for the meditation and some of the spiritual teachings, and it really is a real cross section of society. So there was people there who were coming off mental health problems, addiction problems, substance misuse. There was people there who were just going through general difficulties or breakdowns in relationships that caused a lot of suffering. They're seeking some kind of spiritual solution, and there's people there who are just curious, and there's people there who just have always been interested in kind of Eastern philosophy and meditation, and some people are there as another sort of layer of development, of personal development, of personal improvement. So the reasons why people get involved is, it's so many different reasons. It's multiple reasons. And I guess life's a bit like that in many aspects. It's very difficult to explain things just by one specific reason. Usually most concepts, most emotions in life are usually a bit more complicated than that. So as I say, a lot of people get involved, so it's not just for spiritually type people. And back in February, then I went to like the Scottish Dharma weekend, which was like the spiritual convention, if you like, of the new Kadampa Buddhist tradition in Scotland. And again, it was that cross section of different people that went, but obviously this was a big focus on the actual Buddhist teachings more. I mean, the centre itself focuses on that too, but I guess the more the people went there who were maybe more dedicated members of the flock, if you like. But that was really interesting. They have a female spiritual leader. I think it's Bridget Karim Hayes. It's not that often you see any sort of spiritual organisations with a female leader. So I thought that was really interesting, really positive. And it was a good day. Lots of good teachings, lots of good meditations, and got talking to lots of people. So then why choose it then? For me, there's a number of reasons why people should get involved. And I think first and foremost is it just gives you that sense of presence. Now, people might say, what the hell is that? I don't know if you ever read Eckhart Tolle's spiritual teacher, his book, The Power of Now. He talks obviously frequently about being in the present moment and that the only moment in life is just now. So we have clock time, we look at the clock, we need to be at a meeting here, we need to meet somebody there. That's clock time. And obviously we need clock time to keep our schedule and the daily practicalities of life. But for the vast majority of us, we're living in psychological time. So we're rooted in the past. A lot of us ruminate over the past, negativity in the past, still going over it in our mind and still causing suffering in this moment today. I kind of find I ruminate not that much over the past. But for me, and as I've become more aware, I've noticed this. I'm the type of person maybe who's always projected into the future. And, ultimately that's just causing emotional discomfort because, you're starting to think, if I had this and if that happened, and I'm looking forward to this. And in reality, you're missing the fact that life is just happening right now. So I think there's another quote in that book where it says, I can't remember exactly what it says, but something like, life is the dancer or something, and you're in it now or something. I'll need to actually go back and check it, but it was basically just saying, and just touching on that particular quote, again in The Power of Now, there's something Eckhart Tolle talks about your life situation. So people are always wondering about their life situation. I need to do this, problems here, I need to plan for that. But actually your life happens right now, right this moment. So that projection into the future. So basically, memories of the past are basically, all they are is thoughts in your consciousness. The past doesn't exist as a physical space or a physical entity, and neither does the future. And all the future really is projection of thought form into the future. So again, it's just your mind really creating this projection into the future. Really what happens, all there is right now, and that is the present moment. So meditation is very effective. Just do a breathing meditation, in and out through your nose or out through your mouth if you want to, but just follow your breath when you meditate, because breathing happens naturally. You don't need to force it. It's like gravity. It's one of those kind of, gravity's like a universal law. I guess breathing's like a life law, and that once you stop breathing, that's it over for you in a physical body. So breathing is just one of those things that your body naturally does. So just following it makes you realize that you are present, you are right here in the now, and obviously it's very nice just to appreciate the fact that your body does that for you. So that's one reason. For me, then, number of other reasons is obviously since I've started doing meditation, and as I say, it's not something that is going to solve your problems overnight. So I think people maybe, if they're going through difficulties, think, oh, I've heard of this meditation, I start doing it, and then all of a sudden everything's great. It doesn't work like that. It has to be a consistent practice. It requires effort. And effort can be hard, there's no doubt about it, but that's what it takes. So you have to really put the effort in. As I mentioned in the podcast before, that kind of low level irritation of life that I'm sure a lot of us feel, for me, it's slowly starting to dissipate. So I'm becoming a lot more aware of catching negative emotions. And I use the example, which a lot of people liked, where if you come back home after a day's work and all you want is a cup of coffee, a decaf obviously, and you open up the fridge and then you realise you've no milk. And you're like, Jesus. And you might even say something stronger, obviously. Slam the door. Now, since I've started meditating, I'm kind of aware of that negativity inside me that would have manifested previously in irritation, and probably still could, but not as much. So I'm able now to kind of think to myself, all right, a bit more rational thinking to say, look, it's fine. There's a corner shop right beside you. You've got some herbal teas there. It's not the end of the world. And in all sincerity, I'm really actually am starting to notice this. I've been probably even doing it now, it got about 8 or 9 months. And I'm starting to notice a lot more awareness of negativity. I'm starting to realise when irritation builds, when anger builds. And in Buddhist tradition, they always say anger, well, they say anger is a delusion. So people all say, oh, it's good to get your anger out. But I would disagree. I mean, it's a negative emotion. It's a destructive emotion. It may serve some purpose on a evolutionary level to kind of, if you're under danger, if you're under threat or under danger. But in general, it's a corrosive emotion. It's a big delusion. And actually, if you can notice anger starting to rise within you, it's probably good to be aware of it. And meditation can help you, because in meditation, you're turning inwards. So like things like irritation and frustration are all forms of anger anyway. So be careful when those arise. But if you want to be able to catch them, try meditation. Now there's different types of meditation. Obviously you have breathing meditation, and then mindfulness, which generally is in Western cultures. We talk about mindfulness. Now, I've been reading a little bit of books on mindfulness. I mean, the definition of being mindful, I haven't checked the Collins English Dictionary or anything, but I guess it's just the word mind is in there. So it's mind, just being mindful, aware of your mind. It's interesting you have that word mindful. Maybe it means be aware when your mind is full, to, empty it again. But anyway, I guess mindfulness, breathing is a form of mindfulness, because, you're mindful of your breathing. You're just in that present moment. So it's probably elements of focus and effort and concentration there too. There's other forms of meditation. I mean, transcendental, where it focuses on a mantra, and I think the idea is that it transcends thought. So again, Eckhart Tolle's book, Power of Now, he talks about human beings just being pure consciousness, so just awareness connected to the universe, the higher self. So I guess in transcendental meditation, that transcendent thought is where you completely transcend thought. So all you are is consciousness without thought, and that's what Eckhart Tolle talked about, consciousness without thought. So I guess that's probably the state in transcendental meditation that you would ideally get into, because then you're not identifying with your mind. And if you're not identifying with your mind, you're probably at ease. You're just present, and you're just there. You're just being. If you look at animals, etc., bats, rodents, even like wider sort of, going into vegetation, trees and flowers, etc. I mean, they're not worried about the various things that human beings worry about. They just go with the flow. They're still, they're being. A tree just evolves over 100 years, more, 200 years, and that's it. It just accepts the land it lives in. It's the same as flowers. It's the same as you look at cats and dogs. I mean, they're never really, and there may be some emotional spectrum there, but generally they could sit around the house most of the day. They don't have that sort of egoic human mind, which we do, which is a great thing. It is a great thing to have the human mind, but obviously it's a very destructive thing too. So I guess it's trying to cultivate that mind in a good way. So again, because I did talk about Eckhart's book quite a bit at the start. So he talks about the idea of that you're not your mind, you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions. And that's true. People identify with their mind so much. They believe absolutely everything comes into their head. They never challenge it. There's a good quote I don't know if it was a quote, but it was an analysis. There's a book called The Daily Stoic. Ryan Holiday wrote it. I think it was Stephen Hanselman or something similar. But he talked about if you were handed counterfeit money and you suspected it was counterfeit, you would start looking through the notes and checking it and holding it up to see what the watermark looked like. And if you're running a business, you might be checking if there's any hooky cash coming in through the tills. But as human beings, we don't check our thoughts coming through the tills, so everything coming in we're believing. We're not holding it up to the light. We're not checking for watermarks. We're not recognising the ridiculousness of some of these thoughts that come into our mind. And again, Eckhart talked in that book about people see someone in the street, talking to themselves or shouting to themselves. Because I remember when I was young, I used to see people you think, someone's a bit of a nutter, But in reality, we all have those in our dialogues, in all of us. The only difference between us as the sane people and somebody who's admitted to the psychiatric unit is that they're acting out what's in their mind. They're acting out. They just believe it 100% and they're acting it out and they've no control, no restrictions. I'm sure it's probably a little bit more complicated than that, but in a sense that is a crux of the problem. So again, you're not your mind, so meditation will help you recognise that as well, that you aren't your mind, and help you to be a little bit more discerning about what comes in, and not to believe everything comes into your head, and obviously to challenge some of those thoughts. Now, the other thing meditation does is you've got 7 chakras, so crown, third eye, throat, heart, and you've 3 down your gut, in your stomach, and the bottom of your spine. So all those energy centers are very powerful. If you talk about your intuition, your gut feeling, I think there's some kind of research that your gut has similar material to your brain, so it's like a second brain. And in fact, it's probably the unconscious brain. People always say, trust your intuition, trust your gut feeling. I would say I have a pretty good gut feeling, but I never listen half the time. That's the problem. But meditation, slowly but surely, will help you go inside and access that intuition. Now, it's up to you to display the wisdom, whether you listen or not. But you have to learn. You have to learn to deploy wisdom. So, as I said, it's something that needs to be practiced daily. Think about it as if you're brushing your teeth in the morning and brushing your teeth at night time. You do that every day, and rightly so, because it's good for your dental health. And you're brought up, we're conditioned from a young age, our parents, everybody, brush your teeth, wash your hands, and that's great. We should be doing that, and I've always done that, and most people have always done that. Especially now with coronavirus, people are more conscious of the need to wash hands, etc. So maybe it could be a good culture change to learn from. So we pick up these automatic habits, not the really good habits, but we also pick up really automatic negative habits. But they can be unbroken. And meditation is one tool amongst others, but you have to stick at it. It's not an overnight sensation. But I would say do try it. I do think most of us need some form of spiritual component in our lives. Otherwise, it would be a bit of an empty kind of existence in many regards. Because as I said before, you see so many celebrities with millions and they're miserable. You see so many people who think they've made it and then they start becoming happy again and they're trying something else to make it. And they reach there and they're perpetuating that unhappiness and negativity. And I've done that myself, trying to chase jobs and different things, promotions, and only had this, only had that. The reality is life's happening right now. It's not happening in the past, not happening in the future, because they don't exist. The only moment is now. Life is now. And I'm still learning that, to be quite honest, because this part of me still projects into the future. But meditation has slowly helped me to realise that this is it. As I'm sitting here in this floor on this couch speaking to this video. This is life. It's not 2 hours down the line. This is it. So yes, try that. The other thing as well, God, my legs starting to ache. Yoga is also a good practice, so it's sort of inherently linked to meditation. And I've tried beginners Kundalini yoga, which is just go on the YouTube and you'll see beginners videos. It's really relaxing. It's really kind of really shifts a lot of negativity out of your body, and I think it's one of the yoga practices that is kind of the deepest spiritual practice. I know a lot of yoga. I don't know a lot about yoga really. I mean, I've only gotten into it a little bit recently, so I know there's plenty of people out there who know a lot more than me, but I think a lot of yoga practices, they all have a spiritual basis in some capacity, but I think they've become a very kind of generic leisure activity in many regards. But I think Kundalini is one of the kind of yoga practices that is definitely a bit more deeper spiritual, and you can kind of feel it. Well, I've only done like half an hour intro sessions. It's quite tough, but give it a go. If you're looking to do guided meditation, just go on to YouTube or go to a meditation centre or class. I guess now with the lockdown, there's plenty of things online. Try it out. Give it a go. And as I remarked in the podcast last week, having something scheduled during this lockdown period might be good, because without markers and milestones, it's very difficult to actually recognise days and weeks. I talked about the fact that days and weeks seem to blur into one during the lockdown. I mean, it's a month today since the Prime Minister announced a full lockdown, and in all honesty, I can't sit here in the last month and think of anything that memorable that actually happened. It's like a Groundhog Day. Bill Murray Groundhog Day, that's what it's like, and I talked about that in my last podcast. So if you want a little bit more information on that, do go back to it. But yes, keep at it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them for me and I'll try and get back. As I say, I don't profess to be an expert in this, but I'm just coming from my own views. Meditation's definitely helped me become a bit more grounded and certainly self-aware. And do you know what? When you first start meditating and you turn inside and you start to become more aware, I used this analogy before in my podcast. It's like digging up the garden, and you're going out and you're digging it up, and there's weeds and there's muck and there's stones and there's all sorts of crap. And you actually think to yourself, God, look at the state of this. But you know what? It's all about becoming aware. And a lot of people will just go through their lives and they won't be aware. They'll do the same things day in, day out. Repeat the same thinking habits, everything else, and that's all right. I mean, if they want, they just aren't aware. They're just unconscious, and we all are. But you have to work on becoming more conscious and becoming more aware. So try it. You'll start to notice negativity in you that you've never noticed before, and believe me, if you can get rid of that, you'll be making yourself a lot happier. And happiness comes within. External stuff, I do agree that external stuff, it does make a difference, because if you're living in absolute poverty, it's going to be hard, and if you're living in a lovely big house with a bit of money, life's a little bit easier. But it is inside. All the spiritual teachers always say that you have to find it inside yourself. It's your reaction to the situation. Shawshank Redemption had that great quote with the warder. It's Warder Norton, who's obviously a wicked, nefarious man, and it's probably not the best context to use this quote in, but he used that sort of quasi-religious phrase, salvation lies within, and that's probably true. So, I mean, it is true. It's not probably, it is true. So, as I say, you have to find that sort of within yourself, and you can start to by becoming aware of negativity and challenging it. That's one way you can do it. So I think the lockdown offers an opportunity, because people will be without their normal distractions, so they'll should start becoming a little bit aware of where their triggers are for negativity. So just try some meditation, 10 minutes a day minimum if you can. I mean, if you can't do 10 minutes, surely you can do 10 minutes. But it's easier said than done, of course. But give it a go. And any comments, let me know. Thank you. Speak again soon.